We who have faced the bane of chaos. We who have stopped the uprising of the Necrons. We who have purged the Space Hulk. We who have stood strong against the Vermintide. We who have protected Graia. We who bared witness to the age of Sigma. We who have survived the underhive of Necromunda. We who woke early at the dawn of war. We who prevailed when all seemed lost. We now find ourselves at the end of our journey. One last warp jump, one last fight, one last war. Coronus Expanse, here we come. And we come with vengeance, we come with intent. For in the grim, dark future of humanity, there is only war. Hello everybody. We have finally arrived. We have arrived at the final entry in the Warhammer-a-thon. Rogue Trader, a game which I have heard nothing but praise about, and the game which I have heard is supposed to be the best Warhammer game out of all of them, surpassing even Space Marine 2. I am very excited to be playing this game right now, and as you can tell by the length, this was a real journey. Now then, just let me get this out of the way right now. Does this mean that I will never ever play a Warhammer game again? No, absolutely not. If anything, this Warhammer-a-thon has made me want to play even more. But for now, this is the end. So join me for one last journey, will you? Starting all in Act 0. After spending half an hour in the character creator, the game could finally begin. I was part of the Von Valancius family, a rich and important family in the Imperium of Man. For this family is the heir of a Rogue Trader clan. Rogue Traders basically chart the routes for the Imperium and have immense wealth and power that goes close to even Inquisitors. And we're on board this ship where current Rogue Trader Theodora von Valancius is looking for her follow-up, and we are one of the candidates. You know exactly how this story goes. The first character we talk to is this kind guy.
It should stop the culprits.
He's evil, isn't he? Sure enough, he is evil, and very soon after, the ship is stormed by heretics. The combat of this game begins, and I will get into it later on, because right now, we are just kind of standing around while the others do all of the work for us. However, it is amidst this chaos where we begin to get introduced to our crew. My future husband Abelard is the melee vanguard type of character in this game, and personality-wise he's basically the badass butler. That's the best way I could describe him. Moving deeper into the ship, we soon meet Idira, who is the insane psyker of the crew.
Stay in the box! No! Stay in the box! No! Get out of my skin!
This is about as good a time as any where I gotta praise this game's dialogue system. 50% of this game is just talking with characters, and I love it. The writing of this game is great. Every single answer you make, it matters. Every single question you ask, it matters. That's for better or for worse, but I'll get to that later. And your choices completely change the game. How you talk with characters changes how they view you and how they will interact with you. That is just amazing, everything. I also gotta praise the in-game lore index, where if you ever don't know a word, you just gotta hover over it and it will immediately tell you what that is. Perfect, great. The next character we then meet is a Sister of Battle, which is just so cool. I love this faction. I've been waiting to finally play a Warhammer game with them in it. After more fighting, we then get to one of my biggest gripes, if not the biggest gripe I have with this game, and one of the biggest positives. The positive out the way first, yet again the amazing choices in this game show themselves, this time with the dogmatic, iconoclast and heretic factor added to them. Basically these choices are extra important because they define if your character is a loyal servant to the Emperor, a nice guy, or you can literally just become a heretic and worship the Chaos Gods, becoming a bad guy in the story. These choices completely change the game and it is fucking great. The level up system is the worst level up system I have ever seen in any game ever made. It gives you every single choice you can make from the start, which of course allows for insane optimization and customization. But holy shit, how is any new player supposed to understand this? Eventually I just began clicking random stuff and I'm currently in Act 4, so I guess it kinda worked out. That was made only worse by the fact that the beginning of this game had a lot of bugs and glitches for me. Firstly, the voice acting sometimes bugged out and did not happen, which I find sad because the voice acting is amazing in this game.
No! Lord Captain, I didn't hear.
Secondly, the autosave feature did not work at all for a large portion of the game. And finally, the recommendation filter for the upgrades also just did not work. That made it even harder for me. But besides that, the beginning of this game is great. It perfectly puts you into the shoes of a rogue trader and amazingly sets the tone of the grim, dark, far future. Oh yeah, by the way, Theodora is dead if you couldn't tell already. And as we fight our way through that ship, hunting after the traitor, we soon come to fight our first boss, the Chaos Demon, and holy shit, this guy bodied me hard like 10 times in a row, but I eventually managed to figure out how to beat him, and when I did, that felt real good. Since we kind of single-handedly saved the ship and are now the only heir to the throne left, we become the rogue trader of the von Valancius family. And with that, the prologue ends and the game begins proper. For me personally, Act 1 started with me reading the tutorial for 2 hours and slowly equipping my characters with the weapons, understanding how many stat effects there are and how combat would be happening from now on. Also learning how to manage my ship and also put stuff in the cargo, because this game is called Rogue Trader after all, and you will be needing to trade cargo with other factions so you can get stuff from them. So yeah, that was what I did, but I don't want to show you all of that, so let's cut to the actually interesting stuff, which is possibly, and I'm already nearing the end of the game, so this may still be the fact when I'm done, my favorite quest in the game. It is super simple and doesn't even have any combat, but it's everything I love about stories for me. Basically, we as the new rogue trader and captain of this vessel go down to meet the children of the soldiers who have died in the battle against the heretics after Argenta, the Sister of Battle, asked us to. And those kids are of course completely traumatized and yell at us, or at least one of them does. And you can just straight up order your guards to beat the shit out of him for it. Of course I just do that, but that is what I love about games. Just the ability that I was able to do that is insane. This is the perfectly encapsulates what 40k is. Also gives Argenta a really cool character, because yes, she is super devoted, but she also has a softer side. So yeah, just taking care of the people on my ship is my absolute favorite part of the game, no doubt. Which is also why I really like Chapter 1, because Chapter 1 is all about that, getting your ship back up online, while also trying to find an Inquisitor, because that was the mission of Theodora von Valancius before she perished. To do so, we explore 3 planets and 1 space station. The order in which we do this is completely left up to us, and depending on when we go where, there will actually be important changes in the level, which is also amazing. I went to a station for a new navigator first, which is where we then find out that an incursion has happened, and basically there's a lot of infighting over like the navigator throne or some stuff. And after dealing a lot more with the combat, we can slowly but surely figure out that through reading the documents who the bad people are and who the good guys are. Before that we could just fight both of them. And after all of that, we then save our navigator, Cassia. She is my absolute favorite character in the game by a long shot. I love her writing, I love everything about her, and if I had to dumb it down to a single point, she is as close to a just cheerful and happy person as you can get in the 40k universe, and I just really like that. It also reminded me that this game has a in-depth romance system, so you know I was of course immediately trying to romance Argenta, the Sister of Battle, before I realized that she does not have a romance option. I realized that because you can tell if a character is a possible romance for you in this game if your Lord Captain immediately tries to get them into his bed after they have just lost their entire way of life. Yeah, that was a bit out of left field.
You need to hang up that computer call. Come over here and kiss me on my hot mouth. I'm feeling romantical.
I mean, obviously the developers cannot make every character romanceable, so I completely understand that Argenta isn't romanceable. After we saved Cassia, we were then on our way to a prison planet, where after a rebel leader was put in charge of said prison, he proceeded to basically make it so that all the prisoners could rise up and escape. We are here only to look for the Inquisitor, and along the way we also accidentally save the son of a rival rogue trader family, which will have positive consequences for us later on in the story. If I had gotten here any later, he would have actually died. Yet again, this game is incredibly harsh on its consequences, and I love it. Speaking of love, this is also where I began to love Cassia, because she's just a tad bit overpowered.
I'm a fire in my laser!
With no other options left, we head to the final planet to look for the Inquisitor, but this one has been thrown into a civil war by heretical rebels. I think that this is also where I'm finally going to touch on the combat of this game, because it is of course the third big part of it, the other two being exploration and talking. Combat is fine. I enjoy it a lot less than both of the other parts. It's not bad, it's just fine, and I enjoyed mechanics a lot more. I am not even really sure what it is. I feel like the best way to describe it is there are so many little factors, values, buffs, debuffs. Like, the combat is so in-depth in this game that it loops back around to being basic, because there are just so many rules restricting the enemies that you can really only ever have melee human enemy, ranged human enemy, and a big monster enemy that can do both. As I said, I still enjoyed the combat. I just feel like there could have been a bit more like in the actual what's happening, because it feels like 90% of the combat is just buffing your guys and debuffing the enemy, and the other 10% are the actual combat. All the attacks are either gun that shoots or sword that slashes, and while there are some cool psychic powers, there are not that many. And again, I really like the powers that are there. Later being able to designate areas of the map as front lines and rear lines and all of that There's so much mechanical depth in here and I love it all. It's just that on repeat, combat begins to just feel more tiring and less fun, because you also need to think about so much stuff, and then there's all the reading in the story that also has you thinking about stuff, that this game can tire you out very, very quickly. And as I said, with the enemies, there are just so many restrictions put on them. From the enemies that I have encountered up to this point in the game, the only one that sticks in my brain appears when we enter a Mechanicus Sanctum, and there's these guys that actually heal if you use electric attacks on them. Yeah, speaking of Mechanicus, we also get a Mechanicus character in our retinue, Pascal. He is one of the weaker ones in my opinion, but still has some cool lines. It is also in this Mechanicus Sanctum where we meet the Inquisitor. His name is Heinrichs, and he has the quest to go to a place called Footfall, basically the big Imperial gathering hub in the sector we are currently in, and we gotta bring him there. But before that we gotta save the planet from being blown up by the heretics, and we do that, but during our celebration party the heretics strike again, and we gotta flee from the planet and fight the Chaos Marine as a boss battle. This boss was cool because I really like the idea of just fighting a single space marine. It just really shows you how powerful they are. Really reminded me of that one guy from Eisenhorn, the first book. But he kind of lost the intimidation factor when Abelard walked up to him and beat his ass so hard he began to run away for the rest of the fight. So yeah, there's that. Anyways, we're now back on the ship and we have the task: bring the Inquisitor to Footfall, and we do that in chapter 2. But not before we have our first space combat section. Yoo-hoo. These are terrible. I do not like them at all. They were neat at first, but later on in the game I began to just skip all of them with Toybox, the modding feature. Yeah, did not like them.
Me and my monkey. Help me, Lord Captain! Help me, Lord Captain! Help me, Lord Captain!
Your seneschal is always there for you.
Hey, where'd you get that? You need that plant fruit!
Act 2 can in itself be split into 2 parts. In the first one we bring Heinrichs to Footfall as promised, and while he goes around doing his stuff and our ship gets fixed with all the stuff we've collected, we are just left to our own devices to explore Footfall and mess around a bit. Doing stuff like solving a big mystery about the inheritance of a dead pirate's wealth, which was really hard but also kind of fun. Since we saved that guy from a different rogue trader family on the prison planet, we now get to talk with his butler or something, and we make a trade agreement. We also meet our next companion Jay, who's like a kind of rogue trader woman. Rogue trader.
The prophecy is true.
She's the finance woman with a kind of snarky attitude, basically. We also find a new arising crime gang called the Asher Clan, because they are rebelling against the rest of Footfall and basically want to overthrow the government. We can also help Argenta with a side quest where she hunts down a Tzeentch Chaos cult, because a important religious person who she knows a lot is on this planet, and in doing this quest she can officially stay with us for however long she likes. We also learn that her reason for being so determined to fight against Chaos and always do the Emperor's will is because back then she ended up in a warp jump that malfunctioned, making her miss a lot of the years of her life. So when she finally got back out of that warp jump, the people she knew on Footfall had either all died or forgotten about her and had moved on and found other ways to solve their problems. So she does this to stop feeling useless. That's a good character. I like that a lot. I wish I could be there for her in moments like these, but then again, that's a romance quest. Obviously, the developers can't be asked to make romances for every character. It doesn't bother me that Argenta isn't romanceable. Not at all. Once our ship is patched back up, the second part of chapter 2 begins, and it is all about restoring the von Valancius family to its former glory. And as you can already see right here on screen, the game opens up massively. You can now explore the entire galaxy to your heart's extent. You can go everywhere, do dozens of side quests everywhere. And I will, however, say that this part right here is my absolute least favorite part of the game. Traversing the Coronis expanse is a complete and utter pain in the ass, because it's all about charting routes, and then you gotta use this super rare currency for it that you only get when discovering new planets or making very, very specific choices. So that can get really, really tight on that resource when you constantly have to warp jump around. And because of that resource, you also have to warp jump from one system to the one which is next to that system, because jumping too far where there's no official warp route yet established will cost even more resources, and eventually you just run out and are screwed. This part is so annoying because you're jumping from one system to the next system to the next system to the next system just to get to the one you want to get to. Just let me warp to wherever the hell I want. Like, it is so annoying. It doesn't help that every time you do end up warp jumping somewhere, you can just get interrupted because someone on your crew yet again fucked up. But yeah, once I got past that annoyance, there were now yet again 3 planets for me to choose in which order I wanted to traverse them. The home planet of my family, Dragonus. The second was Janus, a plant planet where we can get like provisions and food, both for Footfall and for us. And finally there is Kiava Gamma, a forge world which we can get back under our control to take ourselves some better weapons and equipment. I went to Janus first, and I gotta say this game really started losing me here, because we are yet again another planet where the plot is that it is under invasion by rebels. And we talk with the governor and figure out that these rebels are being stirred on by Aldari. And through some actually fun detective work, we can deduct that the Aldari are making these rebels fight against the governor, because the governor has invented a new pestilent that is basically causing the planet to mutate. And sure enough, at the end, we also find out that the governor is a Slaneshi worshipper. So we have the Chaos, Heretics, and the Rebel quest lines yet again. So far in this game, well, I have greatly enjoyed the story, the characters, the world building, everything. As I said before, combat was not feeling that good, and later on in the game, where I am right now, combat begins to feel a lot better, and I think I know why it felt so weak right here. The story behind the events that happen at the combat is always the same thing. It's always either you have to fight rebels, or you have to fight some chaos people. Even the Aldari that we got to fight, they were all in alignment with the rebels. Every single planet has so far had the same main story going through it in regards to who you're fighting and why. So yeah, that got really boring, and this isn't even the final one of these plot lines in combat. So yeah, you can just imagine how boring this gets later on. But it does get better later on as well. The only other noteworthy thing about Janus is that we get a new companion, Yiliet? I hope I'm saying that right. Her main character trait is that she is hardcore racist.
I am not your Xenos pet monkey.
On our way to Dragonus, we begin to have chaos visions of Theodora von Valancius, so many so that Idera actually begins going a little bit insane. We learn that this is because she kind of feels guilty. After all, she's a psyker, she can hear whispers in the warp and predict stuff, and she failed to predict the death of Theodora von Valancius, so she's feeling a bit guilty. This whole chaos stuff, chaos is very well presented in this game, I really like it. And after that we land on Dragonus. So much stuff happens here that there's no way I can put it all in this video unless I want this video to be 10 hours long, so let me just give you like the shortest gist I can possibly get out of my head right now. Pascal gets a character moment where we learn that for some reason people think he's dead and imitating someone. We are basically introduced to all of the different houses on this planet that are supporting the Lord Rogue Trader or us. My player character can't officially yet become the Rogue Trader, as like he is accepted by everyone and can officially sit on the throne, where Theodora once said, because there's a lot of Drukhari invasion fleets currently going about causing chaos, and we don't want to risk anything like a big celebratory party that's gonna attract a lot of attention right now. So it is my job to deal with all of that beforehand. We managed to get to a planet that the Drukhari are currently attacking in time, and get to see them basically put a lot of humans in an arena and just have fun watching them kill each other. That's kind of the whole deal with Drukhari. They love seeing other people in pain, they love pain, they're basically like Slaneshi worshippers, just more masochistic. And I guess also sadistic. We also meet the kind of main villain for the next few coming chapters of the game here, Marzai. And he basically tells us, I don't want to fight this guy right now, and pisses off, so we take chase after him. A few more god-awful space battles later, we catch back up to him yet again on a different planet and intercept some plan of his, which pisses him off greatly, so he tells us, hey, you know what, I'm sick of you, we're gonna have a big epic battle at a location that I will be like telling you about later. And for some reason we trust him. I sure hope this doesn't surprise anyone, but obviously he's not there. Instead it's just a fleet waiting for us, and after taking it out we learn that he is now attacking Dragonus in our absence. So we head back to Dragonus and begin to fight the Drukhari there. As I already said before, they don't play any differently than if I was just fighting a bunch of other human rebels. The combat system is just too complex and focused on buffs to really allow for anything else, so I don't blame the developers here, but it still gets incredibly boring to a point where a toy box was not my tool of choice whenever a very long combat encounter stood before me, but I did most of them my own, and you know, sometimes there was some fun to be had. When we finally do encounter Marzai again, he just pisses off yet again, and with him do the rest of the Drukhari, so that problem is sorted for now. But before we can officially be crowned Rogue Trader, we gotta deal with the problem on Kiavagama. On Kiavagama, the chaos cult called Edge of Daybreak, the one we've been fighting this whole game, has also set its roots and made all of the Mechanicus go insane there with a virus. Yeah, it is yet again the exact same plot as I said, so combat here was not that interesting, but I did actually really enjoy it, mostly because the Mechanicus fight a little bit differently to your usual humans, with them using a lot of different kinds of weapons, from plasma to electro to self-exploding servitors, all that stuff. And the level design was, while confusing, also kind of cool, because you had to solve some puzzles here and there. There is also a final boss at the end, but I just really did not care for this. This one was super boring. The only cool thing was the design of the actual boss. And with all the heresy cleansed from this planet and weapon production back online, we can now officially be crowned Rogue Trader. Hey, hold up, I forgot this. We also get to see the master of the man who betrayed us at the beginning of the game. But I have not seen this guy ever again, at least right now in the game, so we can just kind of ignore it right now. What we cannot ignore is my second favorite moment in the entire game so far, and one of the only ever times in gaming that I have actually cried. I kid you not. We learn that the ship we're on, the Machine Spirit, is more sentient than it should be, likely by some time of chaos corruption, and it has a name. It's called Nomos, and it tells us that it wants to speak with us a lot more because it's lonely. I don't know what this was, but it made me so sad and touched my heart. Nomos is the absolute best character. Cassia better watch her back, because man, the competition is hard. And with us finally, and officially, a rogue trader. One of the highest positions one can achieve in the Imperium of Man. Our story is finally looking like it's only gonna go up from here. That is until Yeriat betrays us and hands us into Marazai, who then takes us into a Drakari sex dungeon.
A nice little stroll. Who even taught you to fight like this?
For many people, Act 3 is the worst part of Rogue Trader, but for a not small amount of other people, the third act is actually the best part of Rogue Trader. I can totally understand both sides, because I myself find myself somewhere, I wouldn't say the middle, but approaching the middle. Actually playing Act 3, yeah, it is so far the worst act in the game. However, in retrospect, Act 3 made the game more fun for me from Act 4 going onwards, so it is very important and effective. So what actually happens? Well, it is a very basic plot. You have been captured by the bad guys and now have to fight in an arena for them while slowly plotting your escape. I hate this trope, but this game manages to pull it off very well. And I'd say that is because the first part of this act has you slowly reuniting with all of your companions, if you manage to find them, that is. This game does not pull any punches. If you fail to save your companions here, they die. Heinrichs, my lovely Inquisitor, he's dead. I did not find him. He's somewhere on here and has been killed. I no longer have access to him in the game. And while I love that in concept because it really puts all of us at our absolute low points in life, so much so that Argenta just cannot hold it in anymore and has to reveal to us that she is the one who killed Theodora von Valancius because she saw her holding a shard of chaos in her hands, probably just to inspect it, but still, she had it in her hands, and Kunrad, the man who betrayed us at the beginning, is a Chaos servant, so it is not out of the question to assume that she too had been manipulated. And yeah, using the basic arena setup as a reason for all of your characters to spill their deepest, darkest secrets because they just feel like there's no way out, I like that a lot. That was good. And Argenta's whole character moment and the speech she has afterwards, also very, very well written. It makes me really wish that you could like romance her, but but you know, yeah, the developers just couldn't find it in themselves. But yeah, development is hard. Like I'm not mad. I understand it. I understand it. What I did not like was the actual execution of finding your companions, because the developers here made the absolutely baffling choice of tying most of them to RNG. You can very easily find Abelard and are given nice hints towards him, you're guaranteed to find Argenta, but the others? Total RNG. Ylried has to just show up on the street for you. If she doesn't, you're screwed, you can no longer have her with you. Cassia, okay, you can find her pretty easily, I admit that. But for Heinrichs, the reason I couldn't save him? He is in a random room you're not told about, and you have to speak to a random NPC who's not always there and select a very specific dialogue option, and only then will you get Heinrich's Vat. That is so dumb. Locking away companions you've grown to care about behind RNG is completely stupid. I do not understand that at all. But yeah, otherwise you can also recruit Marazai here, because it turns out he has also been backstabbed and is now in the arena with you. I did end up recruiting him, but that didn't last long. And yeah, eventually you begin to make your way out of the prison. You do that with the help of this weird, strange Drukhari entity, which is very cool. I really find the Nocturne of Oblivion an incredibly interesting character. I am very interested to see where that goes. And basically it says he'll make us a portal in the final arena battle, and with that we can then get to the main portal, through which we can then escape. Now we get to what I meant when I said that this chapter is bad, but makes the rest of the game better. It is yet again all tied to the combat, because the dialogue and exploration is all incredible as always. Because you are slowly but surely regaining your team, combat is at its absolute lowest here, because it was already getting kind of dull before, and now you are very limited in what you can do again until the very end, which means that combat here was a slog. So much so that I just straight up skipped the last few battles because I couldn't take it anymore. In retrospect, however, this meant that I slowly but surely got to learn about each of the characters in combat again and just what their abilities do, which made me then, in the next chapter of the game, enjoy combat a whole lot more, because I actually understood what each character did. So it was a risky move, but it did pay off for them. There is one last thing I would like to point out in this chapter though. You know how I said that this chapter puts every one of us at our absolute lowest and weakest point? Well, I lied. All mere mortals are put at their lowest and weakest point. Mortals is not the same as gods, as you may know. I don't know what happened in this chapter, but this appears to happen for literally everyone who plays this game, so it's a canon event. Abelard ascends into godhood and, excuse my heresy here for a moment, literally outmatches the Emperor in terms of power level. This very handsome old man becomes the reason that chaos tries to turn humans against one another instead of just coming out of the warp, because they are too afraid. The Necrons may have slain their gods, but when Abelard appeared, they hid in tombs. I would like to show you this battle where my entire team was killed. Within the first 2 turns, everyone was dead, except Abelard. Abelard, who proceeded to solo the entire arena, as well as the entire next wave, without getting hit once. Yeah, there will be more examples of this later on in chapter 4.
Whatever game you're playing, it won't work. You can't defeat me.
No, I know. But he can.
Act 4 was an unexplainable ride, because the first half of it is probably my absolute favorite part of the entire game, and from the last half of it, the entire game begins to take a giant nosedive. So basically, we're now back in the Expanse aboard our ship, and the entire Corona's Expanse is kind of in chaos. The Drukhari are quite pissed that so many people managed to escape their super prison, so they're now revolting against the leadership and looking to become the newest leader, doing so by attacking a lot of planets that belong to us. Meanwhile, the Edge of Daybreak, the Chaos Cult we've been fighting this whole game long, is beginning to take over more and more place and just rise up in more and more places. But adding to that, the Inquisition has now taken over Footfall. We met with the Grand Inquisitor before, and he was kind of suspicious of us because we have like Xenos in our group, etc. But yeah, now we of course gotta talk with him again. And one of the sons of another rogue trader family has gone missing on a planet, and we gotta find him to restore order to his planets in the system. So there's a lot going on. And in addition to that, you can of course also just explore the system and do side quests. These range from companion side quests, which flesh out your companions, to just normal side content. And here I really gotta praise the game. Not only is there a lot of side content, most of it is pretty good. Like, they range from average ones where you just go to like an abandoned space station, just have a single combat encounter and get some loot, to actually like stories or interesting set pieces like a frozen and abandoned hive city. That was really cool. They also sometimes have unique enemies, unique story beats. These are really good, is what I'm trying to say. At least right now. I did this one with Abelard here, you are seeing it on screen, where you had to like solve a big mystery to reclaim the honor of his parents and his trading house, which was really cool. I will get back to side content and companion quests later though, because what I did after this is go to the jungle planet where the son of the Winterscale rogue trader had gone missing. While navigating the actual forest with all the loading screens was very annoying. This is probably one of the best parts of the game for me, at least combat-wise, because basically every combat encounter is really good. You can fight the Aldari in the forest, you then, after you have solved the whole ordeal and found the guy again, go into like a laboratory to hunt down one of the Drukhari surgeons who escaped, which is why the Aldari are also here, and he has a really cool and fun fight where there's some super powerful enemies, and he's even spawning in more across the whole fight, so you actually gotta like destroy parts of the environment to stop more enemies from spawning in, and he himself has like an energy shield. It's very, very cool. It also yet again shows Abelard's godlike powers, as the literal perfect specimen faints at the mere sight of him. And in a totally optional quest, we also get a very nice ending to Adira's storyline, as well as a really fun battle with an enemy that can curse his own allies, where if you then attack them, he gets an extra turn, so you're basically forced to kill him first and survive the onslaught of the others until he's dead. Very fun. Adira's quest is all about where she finally gets a chance to make the whispers in her head stop and stop her descent into insanity at the cost of losing her humanity, and she ends up choosing not to do it because she values her humanity more than having a longer life, which is a really good ending for her. It perfectly fits into Warhammer, and the amazing choices in dialogue just show themselves again right here, because there's some really well written dialogue, and you can even force her to put it on, which is really cool, because like just the option being there is so evil and just, that's great. Sadly, it is after this where the game then really falls off. Before this game was very much on track to become my absolute favorite game of all time, but from this moment on it began falling down the ranks fast, and it is all because of the combat, because everything else is great. At first, my complaint with the combat was that I just didn't like how much I relied on buffs, but now where you have a lot more options in the buffs, you have a lot more skills, you have more weapons. Not only has the combat gotten better, I've also grown used to it, now it's fun. The complaint about the story behind the combat always being the exact same has been completely lifted, because you haven't seen that counter in the top left or top right go up yet once in a long time. And while the game has managed to perfectly fix those two problems, It replaces them with one that has always been around. I've just never been quite able to put my finger on it, and it puts it in full force there for me to clearly see and for me to clearly realize the combat system in this game is just ass. The balancing is horrible. Absolutely horrible. 8 out of 10 times combat in this game will go one of two ways. Either you completely dominate the enemy and it is from the beginning of the fight obvious that you're going to win, or the enemy completely dominates you and has you dead in like 2 turns. It is very, very rarely any different. And obviously when you're winning, that's fun, but I want the thrill, I want to just barely scrape by. But that never happens because either you very clearly win or the enemy completely destroys you. Take this one fight here for example, you get to fight the other rogue trader and his crew with you as the rogue trader and your crew because he has been corrupted by chaos. And this should be one of the best fights in the game. The concept is incredible. And instead of it being fun, all of the crew members are just complete bullet sponges that take way more HP than all of your characters have combined. It is not fun in the slightest, and from this point onward in the game, I no longer felt any shame in either setting the difficulty to easy, in which case you literally cannot lose because you steamroll everything, or just using Toy Box to cheat and kill all enemies in the combat encounter, because I was not putting up with this anymore. And so I go to Footfall only to learn that even more shit is going down, because even more of the Winterscale Rogue Trader House and even other Rogue Trader houses are falling into chaos and sometimes don't even realize it and still think they're working for the Imperium, and they're all becoming manic. So while you can just side with them and then go to the Inquisitor, I chose to go against them and help the people of Footfall fight against this one woman who was literally spooning the brains out of a poor man. And this fight with her was again really fun because she was just cool. She had plasma weapons, she had a shotgun, she had a normal gun. There were a lot of different fighting styles for her. She really was the main threat, and the other people that were there to fight against you were countered out by you also having allies. I just really liked this fight. We then meet the Inquisitor, who basically tells us, hey, you're the only one I can trust right now. A planet called Euphrates, which has some really powerful weapons of the Imperium, has been completely taken over by the Edge of Daybreak. We gotta take it back. And so we begin to head there, while I also check off some side quests along the way. The first one I did was finishing Cassia's story, which, while she is still the absolute best written character in the game for me, I didn't enjoy this conclusion as much as Adira's quest still. It was good, there was a new location you could go to, combat you could either avoid or initiate, lots of dialogue options, and a really nice romance scene at the end where she basically like goes to your house and like confesses, and you can confess back, and then you can like go cuddle. That's really cute and just really cool. Sadly, it is on Euphrates where my patience with this game in terms of combat finally snapped, because there wasn't a single combat encounter here that I enjoyed at all. The one that I remember the most was this one against this big chaos mech, and it had everything it needed to be perfect. A cool looking enemy with cool mechanics where he would like mark parts of the map and you had to avoid standing there because next turn a rocket would hit and then set it ablaze. The enemy had fair attacks, and even another cool mechanic where you had to first destroy some generators across the map so you could properly damage it. It was all good, but they just had to throw in a shit ton of normal enemies that completely ruin the fun and give the guy a turn after every single attack you do, completely making this fight enemy dominated unless you pull off some super duper buff combos that one-shot him on the first turn. Yet again, just horrible. After that it only gets worse because you come face to face with the main master of chaos, as well as Kunrad, who's just there again. We never really met him before ever again, but now it's time to fight, and the fight here would have been really epic if it wasn't yet again for you getting completely steamrolled, and the second you turn it to easy, all of a sudden my guy with a random sniper can one-shot a Chaos Space Marine. Like, balancing in this game is just fucking atrocious, I'm sorry. Sadly, it's not just the combat that has always been bad, it is now also the story that goes bad in the last quarter of this game, because I don't know what happened, but all of a sudden this shit is mid at best. As it turns out, that battle, the first battle we've ever had against the main villain, and only the second time we've ever seen Kunrad or him, was actually the end to their story. They are both dead now. And now the Inquisitor, who we've also only seen twice and has done even less in the story, is the main villain because he wants to use one of the weapons that was on Euphrates V to destroy like a lot of stuff and be evil with it. So now we gotta go after him to stop him. Mind you that the Drukhari, who are not only the most established villain in this entire game, but whose story has only really just begun, are never ever fought again in the campaign. Sure, you can find them in side missions, but they are just completely gone from the campaign. So while I'm going after the Inquisitor, I decided to do some side quests, and while some were okay, like this one where you get to fight against some Nurgle people, which was cool because it's the only time you ever get to see them, others really left to be desired. And this is where I come back to the companion quests, because this is where I finished Argentus' story. The Boys Season 5, Stranger Things Season 5, from what I have heard they were quite bad, but I find it hard to believe that they were as poorly written as the ending for Argentus' story. Holy crap, this shit sucked ass. So basically the last arc of her story has been that she is looking for a sacred artifact on board a ship that crashed a long time ago, and she, while still with Theodora, led a mission to retrieve it. She led that mission because she wanted that artifact, and her entire squad ended up getting killed with only her surviving. And you know, then warp shenanigans happened when she got back to Footfall. All the people who she had promised to protect had gone so long without her that they no longer needed her. So with the last proper mission she had done being a failure, she now of course failed without purpose. She now wants to go back and claim that artifact to finally put her heart at ease that she has a purpose. So you go to that door and she gets rejected because she isn't worthy of it, and she runs away into a snowstorm. I'm like, okay, this is going to be a heavy emotional moment. I am expecting peak voice acting, peak dialogue, peak decisions you can make. No. You go back to your ship and she just walks up to you and says, "Whew. Sorry for losing my cool there for a bit, but I'm all fine now. I have decided I'm just going to go on the path of a suicidal maniac looking for death in every single combat encounter I go into now. Thank you for being at my side, and I hope I die soon. Good luck." Now then, I honestly think this would have been a fine enough end for her character arc if there was another romance story arc after this, like where maybe now where she's at her lowest, now she opens up and with the help of love you can bring her back to her purpose. She becomes stronger than ever. It's the comeback time, but as you all know, there's no Argenta romance in this, and I mean, It's completely fine, I understand. Obviously, they have put in so much hard work, you know. What's one more piece of hard work? Too much? You can't overburden them. No, we don't want to do that. So yeah, like, I don't know why you'd even suggested I'm mad about this. I'm not mad at all. I'm completely fine, okay? I'm okay with this. It's just a bit disappointing for her story to end like this.
I will deliver furious retribution!
My ears are ringing.
I would have forgiven the kind of weird ending of Act 4 if Act 5 made up for all of it again and was just as good as Act 2 and the first half of Act 4. I mean, I could just brush away that the Inquisitor, the Inquisition were now the main villains, just because, I mean, if there is a big weapon, the Imperium will probably use it no matter how self-destructive it is. I think that's kind of in character. Sadly, Act 5 does not fix this game or drag it out of the dirt. In fact, I would argue that it perhaps sinks it even deeper into said mud. So we're hunting down the Grand Inquisitor now, and we hunt him down to the edges of the Coronis Expanse, where he is now on a Necron tomb world. And listen, I am not at all complaining that I finally get to see and fight the Necrons again. I haven't done this since the second episode of the Warhammer-a-thon. And they are also quite fun to fight, being completely honest. There's this really big guy, for example, who you can only damage from behind. So there's some unique mechanics, and they manage to actually be somewhat balanced to a point where, while the whole system of either you instantly win or the enemy instantly wins still applies to most fights, there are a few here that are actually tense and fun. My problem is just that the Necrons have absolutely no reason to be in the story besides just being here. Like, why are they here? They have absolutely no contribution to the story, and they have not been teased at all. Would have made much more sense to go to like a Drukhari homeworld, or hell, I was expecting actually that since they were building up the Drukhari and Slanesh so much, that maybe we'd like go to a chaos world where the Drukhari were fighting and shit, and then the end boss would be a fragment of Slanesh herself or something. That would be very cool, because she and the Drukhari were both built up very well in this game. But alas, it's up to us just fighting a bunch of random Necrons. But despite my complaints, I cannot deny that I got a bit emotional here at the end, when you finally know where the Grand Inquisitor is and are preparing to go down to the planet. Just everything nicely clicks into place. It's revealed that Nomos is actually a fragment of one of the Necron's gods, which they enslaved, and it was in the fragment that Theodora held in her hands, which made Argenta shoot her at the start of the game, because she thought it was a chaos relic. And yeah, it's just, everything ties back nicely around, so you can like get the answers you wanted. And then you get to talk with every single member of your crew as they all say their goodbyes, and you can say your goodbyes. It's very, very nice. And then you head down to the planet to stop the Inquisitor. Sadly, the ending of this game is where it completely shits the bed, and the writing goes completely out the window. The writing in this game has for the most part been absolutely incredible. It got a bit worse here and there, but I did not expect it to fall off this much. So in a very lackluster fight, you fight against the Inquisitor, and then it is revealed that his plan all along, the master weapon he is after, is another C10, so Necron God fragment, and he intends to tame this Necron God to use it for the Imperium. Why an Inquisitor of all people who has in this game suspected us and honestly been kind of hostile towards us for even having a Xenos in our party would willingly use Xenos artifacts and free Xenos gods is completely beyond me. I don't know how he thought that this was a good idea, and I don't know why this is the final boss. Yet again, the Necrons were literally just introduced. We've had like 3 battles with them. Why is a Necron being the final boss of this game? It makes zero story sense, and there was no urgency or emotional stakes in this final fight for me. None at all. I mean, to be fair, at least the fight is fine. Like, he has some really cool and fun attacks, and he is actually tense. Like, there is stakes in the fight, he is not ridiculously easy, he's not ridiculously strong. It is a very good final fight from the combat perspective. But I would say that the fight is a bit unfair. I mean, a literal Necron god? I'm not saying that it's unfair towards me, it's unfair towards this thing, because how the hell does this thing even think it stands a sliver of a chance against Abelard? The best thing that came from this fight is that I can now officially speak the sentence Abelard soloed God. And once you've beat it, the game very abruptly ends. At least the one I got was fine. Of course, I gotta say here, it is incredible how many decisions you make in this game flow into the dozens of different endings you can get. But from what I have read online, it's not just me who's not that happy with the ending he got, so I'm assuming that most of the endings are like this. Basically, it is grim dark future after all, so you get to read about what happened in the following years, how some of your planets thrived, others fell, how all of your companions died over time. And in my ending, the only real standout was that I officially made Nomos like my servant. I became the father of God. He calls himself my child. That was kind of cool. And also I became an independent Imperium. Like, I cut myself off from the Imperium of Man. So yeah, very interesting and all. It does leave a bit of a bitter taste in my mouth to read how all of my companions just died over the course, or ditched me, or betrayed me even. It's a bit like, it is very, very fitting, don't get me wrong, for Warhammer. But it does feel like a bit of a slap to the face for all the time you've put into this game. I feel like it would have really helped if after defeating the boss, you either go back up to your ship and can actually talk with every single teammate again, like having the it's all over chat and it's everything, and maybe some of the decisions you make in that chat also flow into the actual ending, so you can make the ending a bit better if you know what to say. That I would have enjoyed a lot more than just you beat the final boss, hard cut to all of your companions dead. But with that, Rogue Trader is officially over. So what are my thoughts? Up until the end of Chapter 2, Rogue Trader was my absolute favorite game of all time, and it owes that to its amazing visual style, which makes it look like you're actually playing the tabletop game just on your computer. It owes that to the great story with great writing and good characters. It owes that to the amazing soundtrack that it has. And I've heard nothing like this ever before, and honestly, it may be my favorite soundtrack from any Warhammer game I've played. And it also owes that to the great romance system that it had and just the actual amount of systems in the game. There's so much content in here. Also, it owes that to the baddie points, because so far only Necromunda has ever gotten one of these, and it's only got one, but Rogue Trader goes above and beyond. I mean, Argenta? Oh, don't get me started. Cassia? A personality and a charm that is as amazing as her writing. Abelard? But it wasn't all perfect, and it soon fell off from being my favorite game of all time. I have voiced my displeasure with the combat enough in this video, so I won't go much into it here. Still, I think that combat is by far the biggest thing that holds this game down. Two other points that I did not enjoy in this game are, I'd say, a slight lack of focus. Like, I feel like there's a few systems in this game that should have been left out because they are either not fully realized or just completely useless. Like space combat, great idea, just feels like it really needs a bit more to it. And for a game called Rogue Trader, there was not one single time where I traded anything. There is a great system behind it from what I've read and seen in the game tutorials and stuff, but I never once traded with anything, and I only saw a single merchant in the entire game, and that was in chapter 1. Also, the ending is not good. Like, in comparison to how amazing the writing was up to the end, it really sticks out like a sore thumb. And also, you cannot romance Argent. No. It's okay, it's okay. This is nothing. This should not be part of the review. This is nothing I would give to anyone. No, it's okay. It's okay. I'm not mad. I'm not mad at all. I'm not mad. I'm not mad. I am mad. I am very mad! How do these people dare? Owlcat! I have purchased your product with my money. I am who feeds you. I am who gives you a safe roof above your head. Without me, you are nothing. So yeah, anyways, thank you all for watching this video. This game's obviously not a heretic. There's not even a need to hold a council for this. We're done with the Warhammer-a-thon. Thank you so much for being a part of this amazing journey with me. There is one more video coming up, and it's going to be a run down memory lane and a ranking of every single Warhammer game. So be sure to check that out as well. Have a great day.
Amongst the stars, there is only war.